All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Birds the Word. Carrington and Matt, how are you, fellas? What's going on?
Good, good. Ready for this week one to get
Tremendous.
started. Need to fast
Yeah,
forward next week.
yeah. Obviously, we've already wrapped up the preseason, and we're getting ready to roll into the regular season. But Birds the Word is brought to you by Old City Sports Network. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at Birds the Word and Old City Sports. Also, be sure to check us out on Twitter. All of our Twitter handles are underneath of us there, and also be sure to check us out at Birds the Word 57 and also at Old Sports spelled OLDE_sport. All right, boys. Well, before we get into this, obviously, some big news has arisen prior to our show here this evening. Um, Cowboys have traded for Trey Lance from San Francisco. Um, is this a huge development, or what the fuck are we looking at here? Because this is, I don't know. Is this the foreseeable ending of Dak Prescott, as you will?
I mean, I think for it to be the foreseeable end of Dak Prescott, you'd have to think that there's somebody that would move on that contract, which is Dak's, because they're not going to sit him with all their salary cap issues. Also, I'd need to see more than like 10 passes from Trey Lance, most of which are check downs, just an atrocious deep ball percentage, and not a lot of experience, actually. So, there are quarterbacks in this draft that have more passes combined than he's had in his collegiate and professional career that are rookie quarterbacks. So I'm going to need to see a little bit more, but certainly a fourth-round pick for a guy that looked destined to be a cap casualty says a lot more about the Cowboys than it does the 49ers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You're going to spend a fourth round pick, which is a pretty good draft pick, middle of the round guy that possibly could be a starter, and you're going to trade him for a backup for your guy that you're paying $40 million to says a whole lot, I think, in the faith that they have in Dak going forward with the team. I think Jerry Jones might have saw an opportunity and just kind of jumped for it, and it could be a big thing, drawing a line in the locker room at some point. If Dak starts doing what he did last year, and week 6 or 7 he has 7 or 8 picks already, they might be like, this might be our year to get further in the playoffs. We can't be turning the ball over like this. But like Carrington said, the guy has 300 passes career in the NFL and college. So I don't know where you go off of all that.
Well, for me, I know I go away from the North Dakotas of the world.
That's a big thing.
Well, gun shy went okay for us for a minute or two, and I'm not oblivious to that at all. I'm not a hater. He just kind of fell off for a minute, but I don't know. It's score one in the column for proven college quarterbacks,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jesse Bell checks in, the Admiral. Gentlemen, how we doing? So, Gary Lane checks in, says Eagles.
Eagles. Go Birds.
And Top Shelf says Dak better watch out. Yeah, I mean, do you guys think that this was a steal in the part of the 49ers to get a fourth round pick for this kid? In regards to obviously a legitimate backup to Dak Prescott, and to our point, as we've kind of discussed already, he's already a turnover machine in training camp. What are we looking at on the actual regular season front? Are we getting ready to see a repeat of last year?
I mean, he's up for a contract extension, he being Dak, and I think
my ass.
Yeah,
he can take that.
Yeah, I think they'll be dragging that out for a little bit, but
yeah, that's going to the offseason. Yep, that goes well into the season. I don't know that he's necessarily going to get this contract extension before the end of the year, like he's probably hoping. And I think Trey Lance kind of is the confirmation to that. Is that I don't see a contract coming, unless he strikes a fucking hot match all of a sudden, and we're looking at the second coming of Tom Brady. But we know that it fucking ain't going to happen. So.
But he struck a hot match before, right? Like Dak's had hot streaks. He's had instances where he's been a little more careful with the ball, where he's made better decisions. But ultimately, those have always come against inferior opponents. And when they are getting into the playoffs, they're getting in as a wild card. They're getting soundly beaten by a team I think sound
right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for them to get a 4th-round pick from a quarterback they're probably going to end up cutting after this season, I think is absolutely insane because nobody wanted to take. Obviously, he was up the entire training camp and all
Right.
season pretty much with Brock Purdy coming back. And once they signed Sam Darnold, they weren't going to have, three of those caliber guys. I don't want to say starters, but decent backup first-string quarterbacks, and to have him who you spent a lot of draft capital on. I mean, you look at the guys who were drafted with the draft picks that the 49ers traded away. And Bradley Chubb, Devontae Smith ended up being involved in that deal. You've had countless Pro Bowlers go away to those draft picks, and to give it up and the guy's thrown 30 passes for you shows a lot on what the 49ers have seen in him compared to Brock Purdy, who has been an absolute turnover machine at training camp.
Right. Well, Top Shelf is actually bringing up the fact that Cowboys are going to be feeling a little bit of pressure after him signing that big contract, or at least Dak is feeling that pressure. So, it's obviously it's got to be hanging over his head, and he's not performing obviously up to the standard. But Old City Sports actually has a question for all of us. What's all of your biggest fears with the oncoming season? Carrington, what you got, dude?
Biggest fears, man. I got to say, just staying healthy. Last year, the Eagles were inordinately healthy. They did a great job just maintaining as they have this preseason. But as we saw in the preseason, injuries can happen on a whim. And when Hurts got, for lack of a better term, hurt in that Chicago game, and he thought he broke his collarbone, that looked like it could be it for the Eagles. And all it takes is 1 or 2 plays. So I think anytime that you're a front-running team, which I think we are, anytime you're a heavily favored team, which we are, I think the biggest fear has to be injury. I mean, you could look to consistency or other things, but I would say injury would be the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest fears for me is obviously no team ever really makes it back to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. So I'm worried about the lull. I'm worried about the fact that did we get did we reach our peak last year and we're getting ready to fall back into the middle of the tier, maybe top of the tier, but not quite making it to that next level like we did last year. So that I think that's honestly my biggest fear. I'm just hoping that we don't have the them Super Bowl that Super Bowl lull. Matt, what's your thought, man?
Yeah, I mean, both of you guys took both of mine, but I'll go something with the team. I'll go special teams. Special teams really worries me with where they're at. Aaron Sipos has not looked good punting the ball. He gets a couple good ones during preseason, but we've seen during the regular season it's not good, and especially when we were in Glendale, it was definitely not good. And just 2 key contributors going down is Sean Bradley and McPherson going down. It's like, who's going to be that next guy to step up?
Yeah,
and
I think it's
they're
very
still
valid.
unsure of a punt returner. They're unsure of a kick returner. They were unsure of a punter going into this last game. Like, none of those answers have been, or none of those questions have been answered. And it kind of worries me because you can flip the field in a heartbeat with a good punt and good coverage. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think, and that's definitely something I think we're going to end up obviously talking about tonight as we're getting ready to roll into this, because we're getting ready to have to make a massive amount of cuts. We're getting ready to go from 90 players down to 53 over the course of the next. I think it's got to be done by Tuesday. So we're about to see a bunch of big names fucking list, and I think that's probably something that we're going to end up talking about here tonight and really ironing out. Top Shelf kind of agrees with us. To Carrington's point, he said the health of the team is obviously a massive concern. Consistency is going to be the other one. And then I think he was kind of agreeing with mine was my good pick on the Super Bowl lull. Jesse Bell checking in and asking what's the status of my boy Ian Book. Jesse, we'll touch on that a little bit later. Yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, it's when we get into to discuss the offenses. I think we all kind of know where this one's going to end up shaking out. So, Obviously, we'll get
Yeah.
into that. Jesse, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, and I haven't been happy about it. And Matt and Carrington kind of stuck it to me last night a little bit. So we'll discuss that in a little bit. Corey Welk checks in, says, "Evening, fellows."
Corey, what's going
Corey,
on?
hey bud. Yeah, be sure to actually check out Corey Wilkes. He's got his show starting on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon. It's called Belly Busters. Should be actually fairly entertaining. Going to be checking out some of the eating challenges and stuff going all around Delco. Ryan checks in, kind of gave us his list of biggest concerns. Linebackers defending the short passes across the middle. Yeah, I mean, the linebackers were just concerned for all of us. Running backs not getting enough first half touches. Yeah, I mean that's neither here nor there. We know that it's gonna ebb and flow depending on the team that they're playing against. So, and then, yeah. So, without further ado, I think we should probably get into covering the game we saw last night, or if you really want to call it a game, we'll get into that and let's roll into cover two. All right, so cover two is brought to you by Fanatics. Be sure to use that link below to get all of your Eagles gear and be suited up for the season upcoming. Season's going to be starting next week, so I think we're all excited and we're ready to rock and roll. But all right, so last night Eagles took another loss in the preseason. Finished up the preseason at 0-2-1. Lost to the Indianapolis Colts 27-13. Obviously, this was I consider it to be a one-off. It was preseason. The Colts were looking to get their new starting quarterback a lot of reps. So they had a lot of first-team guys rolled out there against a lot of our second-team or third-team guys even. But obviously, the question is does this raise a level of concern for you guys? The fact that we went 0-2-1 on the preseason.
No. Now, the Lions of yesteryear went 4-0 in the preseason, then proceeded to lose the next 17 games. So I think it's just one big giant tryout. One big giant tryout going on, and it's a lot going on with the preseason.
Yep, absolutely. Carrington, what you got, bud?
Yeah, who gives a shit is what I've got, because the preseason is all about getting out there and getting evaluations. And as we were talking, going through this last preseason game, Matt, of course, said they're trying everything. And that's what preseason's about. It's about getting all the players in positions so you can see a Devin Allen spark something on special teams. So you can see somebody drop, the ball and not get anywhere in Trey Sermon. You want to absolutely make sure you're trying absolutely everything in those 4th and 2, third and short, the goal line situations. And those extra long field goals that may really set you back during a regular season game, that now you have confidence going forward in your kicker as to where he started off shaky in week 1 in preseason. Now you can look at it and go, wow, that will translate. So we did exactly what we wanted to do, and we stayed healthy doing it. And that's literally, we won by staying healthy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely have to agree with you on that. I think we, I didn't see Jalen Hurts didn't suit up not one game this whole preseason. And a lot of the wide receivers, same thing with a lot of defensive guys. None of those guys suited up. So, taking a back seat and taking your bumps and all of your practice during the week and having those guys get the reps in during that time where you have the ability to be able to kind of control that narrative and do some of the things I think is a big thing. And to Nick Sirianni's point, they did it effectively. And then, like you said, Carrington, we came out of it healthy. That's all we can ask when we go into these situations. Because this season is obviously it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We need to sustain. You need to be able to pull out 12 to 13 wins to be able to win a division, and a lot of these guys are going to be necessary to us doing that. So it is what it is, and not really much I can really argue with you in regards to that. So Matt, what you got on it, bud?
No, coming out of completely healthy was the biggest thing, especially after the last 2 weeks coming in, where it just seemed like guy after guy after guy was going down. So to be able to get through this one was nice. Being able to see Devin Allen, be finally healthy, and last year he had his nice preseason final game, and this one he had this one, but he looks like a football player. He doesn't look like a sprinter trying to play football. He got absolutely popped after one of his receptions and jumped right back up after a 7-yard game. And got right back to the huddle and was all about it, clapping in the guy's face after
clapping in their fucking face too.
After he was celebrating, giving up a 9-yard gain, which is beyond me, but to each his own.
Yeah. So, do you consider Devin Allen to be your MVP of the game, or do you have somebody else?
I have somebody else, but Devin Allen is probably top 3 for me. He played really well, especially on punt coverage as well.
It was probably it was the best game I've seen out of him all the preseason for sure. And a lot of it was attributed to obviously his special teams play. Obviously there's always a level of concern. He dropped that initial ball when it was kicked to him. If you can do the exact same thing you did on that play, but catch it without having to drop it, then I'm all for it. You can play that position all fucking day long. But we've talked about this up and down, left and right for the last 2.5 weeks about these guys and the lack of depth that we have when it comes to the special teams and the receiving thing. So slight level of concern in the fact that he wasn't able to catch it. But if you're able to respond with something like that, I'll definitely take it. But Matt, who was your MVP of this game?
Was it Van Newsom? 17 tackles that he had, 10 solo tackles being at that. Yeah, that was
that's
my
he
guy
was
here.
Clearly mine.
Van Sumrady, I'm sorry, but 17 tackles, 11 solo tackles. He was all over the place.
He was
like a man possessed. I don't know if it was enough to keep him on the 53-man roster at this point with the defensive line depth that they're going to have and the corner depth, and as well as carrying 4 running backs on this roster. Hopefully he'll pass through waivers and continue learning on the practice squad, and that way next year coming into the preseason he might be able to sneak into that 3rd or 4th linebacker role maybe, or even special teams. You never know.
Yeah, Top Shelf kind of asked the same question. Do you think he'll make it? And that's I don't know. It's a toss-up because with McPherson going down, a spot opened up. I mean, you throw this kid on the special teams, and you have a utility guy kind of there waiting in the wings. I mean,
I think
this wasn't effective for 2 games straight. This is the 2nd game in a row that he had double-digit tackles.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive. Because I mean, obviously we're not seeing all of our starters, but this dude he's all over the fucking field, all over the place, and he's doing it by solo tackles.
Physically,
it's fucking insane.
Yeah, physically he's all over the place too, and his athletic profile is off the charts. And I think that's one thing that's going to jump out at everybody is that we look at Spark grades and we look at combine scores and we go, wow. But I got to watch this guy at Michigan State, unfortunately, throw Nebraska players around like a rag doll. And I mean, he has speed and strength, but you have to ask yourself who you're putting your faith in, right? And you have Kyron Johnson, right? He's an excellent player, and he's a guy who plays special teams and can rush the passer and is a linebacker. And then you have Morrow, who's really looking like the 4th linebacker suddenly. Yet he had a weird sighting last night. But to me, if you look at it and you're going, okay, we're going to Kobe Dean and we're saying Zach Cunningham is the person, and then clearly Ellis, who's had the best preseason I think of all the defensive linebackers, especially like on special teams, everything, he was making all the plays. So who's your fourth linebacker? It really comes down to Morrow, who led the Bears in tackles, or an unproven Van Sumeren, who is very athletic. And that's where we're going, who's eating up tackles and did have double digits, but also in a way that the ball's being fed to the middle towards the linebackers in most of these preseason games. So I think you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and say, you're not signing a G League guy to be your starter, and he needs some time on the practice squad. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
I don't just dislike him because he absolutely whooped my college team. I just think that he needs a year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To sit on the practice squad, learn, keep going and be able to come back, super strong next year. So definitely exciting player. So
Carrington, I think your daughter's asking the question here. I think this is your wife. If I'm not really.
Yep. So that would be my beautiful wife. Says Quincy's my son has a question for Daddy, aka Mr. C. Are Eagles going to win Game 1? And to that, I would say, never fear. They are going to trounce the Patriots. All right. There's never a better time or a more easy day to be unpatriotic than week 1 of the Eagles. Buddy, they're going to trounce them. Yeah. You might not even hear me yell at the TV, not more than once or twice or 10 times, depending if Van Sumeren's playing or not, right? So I think the Eagles will win, and that's a great question.
Carrington, who was your player of the game?
Tyree Maddox Williams.
Okay.
He was, the guy's he just got off the bus, so to speak, right? Just got off the bus and finishes with 7 total tackles, right? 6 unassisted from a guy who plays, you're looking for special teams gamer, a guy that can fill the corner safety, kind of that big nickel hybrid that they're shifting to. So while Van Sumeren absolutely cleaned up, you're looking at the pieces of need. Maddox Williams, he just hooped. He had a pass deflection. He had absolutely great stats overall. And I think that he has a great chance of maybe even making the team, depending on how some of these corners shake out, looking from Mekhi Gardner to Eli Ricks, who's a virtual lock,
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree. He was effective. I think this was this the first time we've seen this kid out there? I don't recall seeing him in the last couple of games. So
he was part of that 5-for-5 drop and sign we did.
Yeah, right. That was middle of the week, I think, like Monday maybe.
Right. This was a reps and set thing for him. They were trying to get him out there and get him comfortable on the field. And yeah, I mean he proved to be effective. And I think that this is kind of going to be one of them kids that's another one of them ones that's going to be unfortunately outside looking in, but for a linebacker, he was super effective, and I think that we're looking at it. Hopefully, as long as he didn't get picked up in waivers, another practice squad guy that has potential to progress and take over in a role later down the line. But I don't see him obviously making the 53-man cut at this point. Just the nature of the beast with where we're at. And how deep we are in some areas and where we want to keep some people. So, you guys got anything else you guys want to discuss in regards to this game? Or should we just get into the offense and start discussing some of the shit we got going on with that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Trying to stop a 4th and 26 and in essence take over. Plenty of time. Down the middle, it's Mitchell. Where will they spot him? They're going to get forward progress and a first down.
I still get chills after seeing that shit.
Every time.
It happened.
Yeah. So 4th and Seasons brought to you by Righteous Felon. Go to righteousfelon.com and use promo code OCSN for 15% off your next beef jerky order. Anything over $50 will get you your shipping for free. So be sure to go out and check out Righteous Felon. Pretty good jerky. And I'm not a big jerky fan. So, all right, boys. So we got to see 3 quarterbacks. I think this was probably the first time all preseason as well. I think this is really the first time we got to see a look at Ian Book. And we'll touch on him obviously here in a little bit. But Marcus Mariota was only out there for 1 series. Pretty ineffective. Kind of looked like a situation normal for him, overthrowing guys, same old normal bullshit. He was 1 for 2, 21 yards. And that's all we got for Marcus Mariota. And they essentially took him out at that point. And the conversation, even from Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, was, hey, is he going to continue to be the backup, or are we getting ready to see the other guy roll out? And that, it's we've touched on this, so we're not going to beat a dead horse with it. We all know that we think he's going to end up being the second string quarterback, because of the experience and where it's at. But there was one point in there that they had actually talked about where Marcus Mariota, at one point seemed to show a disinterest in football, and he had been talking about retiring. And he had a coming to Jesus moment and essentially ended up staying around. Does that concern y'all at all in regards to Marcus Mariota and the fact that he seemed to be disinterested at some point in time? And it wasn't necessarily prior to this year. I think it was prior to his Atlanta Falcons year, obviously, but it was something that I think Al Michaels had actually talked about at some point, because I think it was during an interview or something that they were talking about. So
yeah, it was on the show, The Quarterback. I guess
right.
when Mariota touched on it.
Yeah,
Not too worried about it. I mean, Foles had the same thing, and then ended up winning a Super Bowl, the year
right.
after.
You ain't wrong. You ain't
But
wrong.
I mean, you got to figure the guy did nothing but win when he was at Oregon, and then he comes into the NFL, gets drafted second, and just loses every single season with what was then a bad Titans organization coming in. They got better, but
Right.
then you go to Atlanta, and a terrible organization just for the time period that it is. They're just a constant bottom of the NFC South of a weak division anyway. So I think you kind of would be like, do I even feel like playing my 12th season or whatever it is anymore? Or do I just take my money and just relax? And then you get a team where you're like, all right, I don't have to go through the brutal 17 games of being a starter. That every game I can make a little bit of money. Right. I can back up on a championship caliber team and maybe get a title before I roll out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's valid.
What happened too? Yeah, what had happened, as they say, what had happened was during the Atlanta season, there was sort of this misnomer, misnarrative that he was just ready to leave or retire or bounce out of there, and that wasn't really the case. I mean, he had broken his collarbone or separated his shoulder, and during that same period of time, his daughter was born. So he had left the team to go be with his wife, which, I think we've all been there, right? And so he left the team to go with his wife and spend some time with his kids. He had a conversation with ownership that they didn't make public, but speculation kind of runs rampant when you don't get in front of something with a public statement. And they let him know that, hey, we respect you, we like you, all these things, but we would like to see what Desmond Ridder has, before the draft comes up with these remaining 4 games. And they agreed that he would be able to spend time with his family as he would be injured anyway. So the narrative was that he quit on everybody, but the reality is he was injured and had a child born. So it's kind of a misnomer on that part. Now, I wasn't a huge Tanner McKee guy coming into it because I watched his draft Clayton Thorson, that idiot, and it was kind of frustrating situation. But man, McKee has proven me wrong at absolutely every single turn. He is doing more with less. He has agility and movement in the pocket, and he's already showing a command of the huddle and kind of getting these plays down. So,
yeah. So, I mean, you already kind of touched on the Carrington, so we'll shift into it. Tanner McKee obviously ended up coming in and went 19 for 34, 158 yards. He was sacked twice for a loss of about 14 yards. nothing crazy. To be honest with you, the one thing that I saw out of Tanner McKee this game, and it was something that we were texting back and forth with each other, he seemed to not be hitting these guys in stride. This was the first game that I seen him where he was throwing behind the receivers, and really kind of I don't know if he was in his head or if he was pressured, but he was definitely not the Tanner McKee from the first two games that I was hoping and anticipating for, because I knew that he was going to see a lot more reps and sets this go around. But there were, especially in that first quarter, there were quite a few passes where, had he hit his receiver on the front end instead of on the back shoulder, he probably would have been able a little bit more effective. So that was just kind of some kind of concerns. Was that anything that you guys witnessed as well? Was there any level of concern on that?
For me, he looked like a rookie. You know, he was playing against a first-team defense for the most part with the Colts.
I mean, a
albeit
little.
not a very
Yeah.
good one,
Yeah.
but you can tell how much the speed was different between first and second and third string guys. So
Yeah.
it was a little more in your face. It was the defensive backs are now giving you a tighter window to throw in, and it's just going to come with time. You know, the more he plays, the slower the game is going to get. Hopefully, and I think he'll be just fine. I think he still played well. There was a lot of big drops that left a lot of yards out there. You know, and Nada had a fumble for more after the catch yards that would have been there, and he threw behind, I think, a guy on fourth down that he had open, but he just rushed to throw without pressure being really in his face for being, fourth down. So
Yeah, it
I
was.
think-
Yeah, and
Actually,
there
that's
were
just fine.
there were a lot
He
of
threw it all-
drops too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there was also some level of concern for me in regards to his hesitation to take off out of the pocket. He was very reluctant to do so in some instances. He was looking for the check down or possible throw down field, which that's fine. I have no problem with you doing that and making sure that you're doing all of your reads and doing all of that. But there were some of them times in there he had a clear open lane to run to be able to get the first down, and he was hesitant to do so. And that's one thing that you know with this offense and the way it's designed, you can't sit back and continue to try and let that unfold for you, because it's more than likely not going to, because at that point you're going to have other defensive backs rotating and doing the things that they need to do to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I think that was the one level of concern for me as well, was the fact that he was very reluctant to get out of that pocket and take off with his feet. And yeah, I mean, that was it for me.
And we hit on it a little bit. I mean, I didn't dislike Tanner McKee as a passer. What I disliked mainly was his fit in the Eagles system. And if you look at the biggest issue with Gardner Minshew, it wasn't that no one thought he could complete a pass. It was that, although he struggled, it was that he wasn't very mobile. So your whole game plan alters. And when you built schematically something around him running, the zone read, kind of the misdirect, throwing people off a little bit and halting the linebackers. And then suddenly that's not an option. Well, then you've taken that element out of your offense. You've allowed people to encroach. You've allowed a safety to be in the box for running plays, and it kind of slows everything down a lot more. But he did a good job. I mean, if you think there was that post or flag route where Arnold was headed towards the end zone and the defender clearly hooked him, and otherwise it would have been a walk-in touchdown. And then we had another one where the running back dropped the ball, and that would have been a walk-in touchdown. And yeah, he put it a little ahead of him, a little far, but that's an NFL catch all day, 24/7. And he would have had 2 touchdowns in the preseason. And when I watched Anthony Richardson, who was flapping his arms like an idiot, good for you, you're having a good time or whatever. But you did 6 passes, all right, against a bunch of linebackers that are going to be working at Circuit City next week. All right, so just relax. Take it back a notch and, whatever, realize where you are. But to me, I've seen enough from Tanner McKee to go, when he's in rhythm and he has some time and repetitions with people that know what they're doing and can, block he's not scrambling for his life. He's not exactly fleet-footed, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was slightly concerning because it was obviously, I'm looking at it. Top shelf. Just wanted to point out, Carrington, that Circus City is closed down.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely valid. And it's one of them things that we I think we were all high on him because of everything he was doing right. It was just, this was the game that we had the ability to be able to see everything that he was doing wrong, because he had a significant amount of playing time in this regard. And speaking of playing time, we ended up getting to see the last quarterback of the bunch, and Jesse is going to be super upset with our take on this, but Ian Book went 11 for 15, threw for 80 yards, was sacked once in that time. And I mean, boys, I'm a Notre Dame fan, and this kid is not fucking it. He's not comfortable. He looks frazzled. Notre Dame quarterbacks outside of Joe Montana are not
Joe Montana
are not NFL quarterbacks.
I mean, you would think for a guy that went like 30-5 at Notre Dame. I mean, he tore it up at Notre Dame. He was great as a college quarterback. So 30-5, and I don't think he completed 30 or 5 passes yesterday. He's not it. I mean, I want to root for the guy. He's very fast, but he looks like he's making the worst decisions every time he's out on the field. So I'd love for him to have been the answer, so that I could have been super right about Tanner McKee being a bad draft pick. But turns out I'm wrong, and Ian Book is just, might want to get in line at Circuit City. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think we can close the book on Ian Book, and he's going to be up on somebody's shelf with old cobwebs growing on him from here on out.
Definitely Clarence at Borders.
Yeah, he just he looked scared to throw the ball for a quarterback. He looks so really unsure of himself.
He looked very uncomfortable.
And I think part of it was,
Jesse, don't fire me.
Yeah, right. Please. No, I think coming out of Notre Dame, from what I saw from him, he was a very mobile quarterback, and he made a lot of plays with his legs. Not so much in the NFL. Everybody's a whole lot faster than you are now. That shows the game speed. You go 30-5, on a top team in college, and then you come in and just look completely lost in the NFL. It just shows what the coach's game plan for, how good all the players are, and the change of speed is absolutely insane. You have these windows that may be 5 feet now for a throwing lane. You're like, all right, this guy's wide open. Now it's 1.5 feet, and it's okay. Well, he's wide open now. So it's very different. And I mean, he looked better last night, being 11 of 15. He looked more comfortable, but the first game really showed me that he was just absolutely terrified. And I don't know if he was terrified to make a turnover or to cause a turnover and then lose a spot, maybe. But being petrified out there, I'd rather somebody go in there and start slinging that thing around.
Right. You lost your spot based off of the fact that you were petrified to fucking do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yep. No, I agree. So the only running back we really saw yesterday was Trey Sermon. I mean, Kennedy Brooks was out there and he played a little bit, but I mean, Trey Sermon was it. He had 16 carries, 30 yards, the 1 touchdown, which was right there on the goal line. We all saw that happen in the beginning of the game, and that was it. Essentially, the running offense was essentially absent last night. I didn't see too much of fucking anything out of them. It was a passing game for us. I think they were looking to see what receivers were going to come down with what. So it's I don't really think there's much to talk about here. Trey is what he is. We know what Trey is capable of. the unfortunate truth is that he's going to be on the outside looking in, I think, with this team, unfortunately, because we got to make cuts somewhere. I think he's going to be on the practice squad. I don't see him going anywhere. But he is not going to be in that 53. What's your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's not a ton to dissect. He had a couple good things he did. He would have a really long run, a good scamper up the right side, and then he would fumble the ball. And then he would drop a good pass on 3rd and 4th down, and then he would run for like 10 yards. I mean, the other thing to consider is, as I'm still adjusting, as Matt and I talked about, they eliminated the preseason game number 4. So in 3 becomes 4, obviously now, and they're giving all these guys their best shot, or at least really good teams are saying, we're going to give these guys a shot to put something on tape because they're not going to make it here. And we hope they can catch on somewhere else. And maybe we see something in them, but most likely we want to, see if they can catch on somewhere. And so last night you're seeing a lot of that in the offensive line. So it's kind of an unfair judge on Sermon, too, with what could he do with the starters on offense? It remains to be seen, but is he better than, would I take him over any of the 4 running backs in front of him? No, I wouldn't do it before season. I still wouldn't do it now. So I think that, it's closed on that. And he's practice squad.
Yeah. So Top Shelf actually had a question about this. So obviously we've touched on this about 1,000 times, and we all have our feelings about it. But Taylor's starting to sound like it's a more likely situation, obviously, than we were anticipating. If this kid gets traded to us, do you think Trey Sermon gets picked up somewhere else?
No. It would have happened last year with all the injuries that happened. He's to me in his last preseason game, he showed what he was. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to give the offensive line credit for Jalen Hurts stats, but they don't want to give offensive line credit for Trey Sermon stats the way he looks behind it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
exactly.
It's like, all right. He averaged 1.9 yards per carry last night. It's absolutely insane. He turns the ball over too much. Like Carrington said, you have a nice scamper up the right side, look good, fumble it. It's all for naught. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And he looks so hesitant last night.
We're going to look at the negative. We're going to acknowledge the negative more than we are going to acknowledge your positive. So it's.
You could have a 98-yard run, and if you fumble on the 2-yard line and turn the ball over, nobody's going to be talking about a 98-yard run.
We're going to be talking about the 2-yard fumble. Yep. You're absolutely right. All right. Well, with that, we'll touch on the receiving end. I think by far the most impressive last night was Deion Kane. This kid was catching almost everything that was thrown at him. He went 6. He had 6 receptions on his 9 targets, 62 yards of receiving, which is close to double what the next guy was, and had the longest catch of the day at 21 yards. This kid's obviously he's obviously going to be on the outside looking in, but I mean he looked all right to me for a receiver that's probably going to be a practice squad guy. What's your guys' thoughts on this kid?
Yeah, practice squad for sure. I mean, I initially had high hopes when he had a really good season before in that alternative league, but he really didn't seize the opportunity in the first couple of games. He was rough. I mean, he was just absolutely rough. And then he gets a weird opportunity last night and kind of shows out. But, I don't know. I think the tail end 5th and 6th wide receiver have sort of been a mystery all offseason. I think Greg Ward is going to hang on like Twinkies and cockroaches and never, ever go away, I think. And I'm fine with that. He does a lot of things well. He does punt returns well, kick returns. He can secure the ball, We lost Tommy at Twinkies, I think.
Hang on. Twinkies and cockroaches. What the fuck?
My favorite things put together.
You know what they say? Because that's the only thing that can survive a nuclear blast, right? Is Twinkies and cockroaches.
That's the best take I've fucking heard.
All right,
All
end the
right.
show. We're good. We're
Oh
done
my
now.
god!
And it's a wrap.
We're done.
I'm getting a call from Jesse right now. I wonder what this is about.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. So we had a bunch of receivers out there last night. I'm gonna go down the list. You guys tell me if they make it or cut it, because if we try and sit here and go through this whole make or cut list, we're gonna be here fucking all night. Deion Kane,
Cut.
Freddie Swain,
cut.
Get the scissors.
cut. Yep. Ngata.
Cut.
Exacto knife.
Really?
Just
Yeah.
don't even let him ride the bus from back to the NovaCare Center, wherever he's at.
I'd get the jersey back just to be
I
safe.
just-
That one kind of shocks me a little bit. Okay.
I had high hopes for him, but no. Just
Yeah.
bonehead plays.
Yep. Tyree
Yes.
Jackson.
Ugh.
Tight end number 3, that's like a whole type situation, similar with wide receiver 5 and 6. I like the Brady kid from LSU. I like Tyree Jackson. I think it's Brady Russell. Tyree Jackson showed me enough in the last 2 games.
Colorado.
What's that?
Brady Russell's Colorado.
Colorado.
Oh, he's Colorado. My bad. I would take Tyree Jackson probably, or Russell as a kind of a 1A, 1B as that third receiver, because you can't teach size speed combination. So I would keep him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Jaden Hasselwood.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cut. Dan Arnold.
Double cut.
Yeah.
And Johnny King.
See ya.
Cut.
Practice squad.
And the last one, and this is one that we were kind of starting to touch on earlier, Devin Allen.
He is my special teams guy. He
Okay.
I
showed me
mean,
Oh, solid.
good. This is good. This is good TV.
Yeah, no, I think it's valid. I think Devin Allen has to. He's the clear. He's effective back there, man. I just
you can't teach speed, and that's
right.
pretty much
and that's the shit about it, is the fact that you can't teach that speed, and that's what comes with it.
and it just
Top actually has a question: is Quez the slot?
for me
Yeah.
he is, and until he's not, if that makes any sense. If he comes in,
Yep.
and he, we know he
I-
can make some big
the
plays,
case-
but if he starts fumbling the
case-
ball after it hits you
The
again,
case, Yeah.
Matt, you sound like Yogi. You sound like fucking Yogi Berra. Like wherever you go, there you are. But I'm with you. All right, I'm with you. It's it's $1, which is almost worth more than 4 quarters, right? So
Yeah.
I'm with you 100% though on the point, because he is the guy, and that's why they were holding him out and being very careful and cautious with him. Sirianni's gone on and on about his confidence. He's been really putting it in, but this is his last shot. So I think he's got on a Super Bowl contending team. If this were 2 years ago, I'd say, oh yeah, he's a lock, no problem. He might be an outside guy, you never know. But we're a Super Bowl contending team, man. So get your shit together, or Zacchaeus is going to be in this slot, and your ass is going to be riding the pine.
yeah, I mean, it could come up to another Washington game where he has a chance to, make, not to bring up anybody's PTSD, what's going on with it, but he had that big catch at the end of the game, falls down, gets back up, fumbles the ball, and it's like, all right, next game, Zacchaeus, you are now the slot guy. Let's see what you can do, because you can't afford these types of performances from somebody is very close on your heels about it, whether you like to hear it or not. Zacchaeus could start, and I would not be mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's going to be our 4 wide receivers. Obviously, we know where this that whole thing's going to shake out. The real question is going to be 5 and 6, and I think Ngata's going to make it. by the skin of his fucking teeth, but he didn't do himself any favors.
He could just on sheer size.
Yeah,
I think
and
Might be what it is.
right.
You know, he's got to make some fucking plays if he wants to make the team, and he can't do shit. I mean, he can't. Like, you look at what he's done, man. I know he looks awful.
He's
All right,
ineffective.
but like,
he's effective
Yeah, I
by,
agree.
by any
I can go to my local YMCA and find some dudes that are like really tall and can run fast. All right, they also can't
Right.
catch a football. All right, so that's kind of what we're working with here. And you're talking about the fringe. Devin Allen has swung me in this argument totally because of his ability to make tackles.
Exactly.
Not only can he take a hit, but the dude, I don't know why I keep imagining like he's going to like jump 100 feet in the air. You know, I don't know why, but he can make all these tackles. He's shown himself to be an excellent ball carrier. And what have the Eagles been absolutely pounding all preseason, looking for a fucking returner, and they got it.
Right.
And you sold. So if he's the returner and he's also fills the special teams like the McPherson role, well, you've just solved two problems with one, which is basically the Eagles' motto, right? Is versatility.
And he can also be your fifth, sixth wideout guy, as he's shown. I mean, it's been in preseason games, but he can be there. And, you know, is what showed out to me more than the kick return last night, which is very nice, especially him breaking the tackle, because if it was Britton Covey, he would have been hit at the 18-yard line, and it would have been just done.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a game over. Yeah. No,
and I was like, oh, here we go, tackled after this. And he breaks out of it, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then he just outruns all of his blockers going through. And, you know, he's waiting for these guys. He gets tackled, you know, I think the 23-yard line. But it was the punt that Sipos had was actually a fairly good one. And the returner had 15 yards in front of him. But here's Devin Allen, 3 yards in front of him, flying down the hill, and he had to call for a fair catch. So you saved your team maybe 12 yards in possession, which is huge.
Yeah. No, that's all you need out of a gunner like this. You need somebody that's going to be able to get down to these guys and be able to at least make them think that they're about to get their asses hit and set this field position.
Yep.
Because we obviously know Sipos is not going to be the fucking guy. We need to figure that whole fucking thing out. That's a disaster waiting to fucking happen. And it was even touched on the radio this morning because I was listening to it on the way into work. Sipos is getting he's gone.
Yeah.
This is not going to be. He's not going to be the guy. So having a gunner that's going to be effective to ensure that this field position, that whatever punter it is that we have coming in, which that's going to be a whole nother discussion. You know, that's going to be huge. And I think Devin Allen is honestly going to need to be the guy. And that's where I think that this kid's going to be effective on the special teams aspect of things for the foreseeable future. And as barring any setbacks, obviously. I mean, that's what this shakes down to. So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
all right, boys. Well, I think that just about covers our offensive side of the ball. Let's get into the defense. All right, Nickels and Dimes is brought to you by Outlaw Mile High Brewing Company. Check it out at Tivoli. You can order it on tivolibrewing.com, and you can have it shipped anywhere across the continent of the United States. This beer is the beer of the summer, if I do say so myself.
I actually just ordered some. So.
Oh, did you? Oh,
wait
dude.
to get here.
Yeah. No, Matt, if you're gonna do it, dude, you gotta make sure you do that review and get it up with Jesse. Because this beer is fucking delicious. It really is. Yeah, and Carrington, you're fucking close. That shit should be in your fucking beer store nearby somewhere.
Yes.
Yes.
My local beer store, as it's referred to generally.
Yeah, okay. Boys. Well, we're gonna discuss the defensive side of shit. Obviously we got a lot of moving parts with this. Because I don't think that we saw any of our starters outside of maybe Keely Ringo and Sidney Brown last night. In regards to the defensive side of the ball. But I think we got some contributions from some defensive guys that have the potential to make this team pretty fucking effective. We've already kind of touched on Van Sumeren. Dude had 17 tackles last night, 11 solo, which is an asinine fucking stat. But it's also preseason, so you have to take shit with a grain of salt, obviously. Keely Ringo was another name that stood out, which is one of the ones that we were pretty high on rolling into the preseason, and he's proving his worth. So what's your guys your guys' thoughts on Ringo? Keely's been effective. Five tackles, 4 solo. Didn't have any tackles for losses, but he's also a defensive back. So
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of taken a step back from Keely the last week and a half, and I've just been beating the drum on this guy because from an athletic, profile, I mean, he's gigantic, he's super fast. His agility drills are just, watch a YouTube video, start your screen on fire. I mean, the guy's absolutely incredible, but he got the McPherson treatment last night, and the reason he had so many tackles is because people were painting him like a house. I mean, they were just hitting him and hitting him and hitting him as much as they possibly could and kind of attacking him as a weakness as opposed to a strength. And while they were playing, the Colts embarrassingly played their starters like basically the whole half. And Ringo's still kind of picking up.
They played their starters for 3 quarters.
And we're up by 4 at halftime.
Right.
And by the way, their number 4 quarterback who's doing the eagle flap, while he should spend less time learning choreography and thinking about stupid stunts and more time in accuracy drills, because he is the lowest accuracy quarterback amongst all rookies in the entire preseason. The absolute worst fucking accuracy. All right, the guy needs to check himself.
When he played 9 snaps in college and he gets drafted 4th overall. So I mean,
he was 56 or 54% at Florida. And that's okay, I guess. I mean, it's the SEC, so the barometer's a little bit different. It's probably like closer to a healthy 58. What's that? Well, for
getting more scotch.
Getting more scotch. So
I like it.
That's a good reason. Just for me, I don't think that Keely Ringo showed me enough where before I was kind of envisioning him as maybe a makeshift safety fill-in. And I think Sidney Brown, who he had some stuff too, but my goodness, Sidney Brown, he might make some mistakes in the open field. He's going to take some chances and go full-fledged head first. But that dude's got the pedigree. I mean, Matt, what do you think? Sidney Brown play on the defense as a starter, or what do you think?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it last week. I'd rather him get these snaps in the first 6 weeks of the season and make his mistakes, because we have the offense and the rest of the defense to be able to overcome some missed tackles from him. And it's not going to be a lack of trying. He's going to be flying in there with his hair on fire, trying to absolutely blow up somebody. I'd rather him make those mistakes, and then in week 11 to 17 and in the playoffs, be like, hold on, this happened in week 5. I already saw this. Let me play back a little bit and kind of let him come to me. I'd rather them get that out of the way and done, because he is your safety of the future there. So just get it done. Get a painful couple weeks out of the way. Who knows? It could not be a painful 6 weeks. But I'm right there with you with Keely Ringo. I was hoping maybe they might be able to play him as a hybrid safety in with doing this, but he just got absolutely abused. And it kind of reminded me of maybe why he fell to the 4th round. When they looked at tape one-on-one wise to see how the throws were being made to him and who he was covering compared to, all right, what are the other 10 guys on this Georgia defense doing? And what Keely Ringo is doing at this
Right.
point. So,
and right, and I think that's kind of what a lot of this
So
shit is
when you're
attributed.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So when you're looking at cornerbacks like with Ringo, obviously he's going to make the team. You know, they have a lot of faith in him and a lot of investment as far as draft capital, and I just think his ceiling is astronomical. Who do you think is getting left off the team? Like who do you think's making it? Let's do it that way. Because they'll probably keep only 6.
I mean,
Okay,
we got our 2 starters. So you got Bradbury and Slay and Maddox with your 3 starters guaranteed.
And I think Job is a starter or as the 4th corner. I think he's the top outside corner.
I think Job, Ringo, and Eli Ricks.
Quite a bit was Job today. I was listening to WIP on the way into work this morning, and Job has impressed a lot of people. And this Carrington, this was your fucking sleeper guy, dude. Like when we did the draft show, during our opening, you made it abundantly clear that Job was your guy. Josiah Scott is out. I don't see him being able to make the team with where we're at as far as the depth on the cornerback position. So I think Josiah Scott is out. I don't know, Matt. Who else do you have out? Because Josiah Scott's the one that I had penciled in as being gone.
Yeah, I mean, I know my 6 that I'm keeping that is staying for sure. You know, I got Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo.
Yeah.
And Job. And then obviously the 3 starters and Maddox, Bradbury, and Slay. It's just what Job has really impressed me, especially in the live practices, that they're pretty much playing like actual games. And I think that's why the starters haven't been playing, because it's been 11 on 11s and 7 on 7s with, you know, first team defense and first team offense. And they've been lighting it up. And I remember watching a clip of a play where Job kind of got beat for a touchdown. And Devontae Smith brings him to the side, and he's like, yo, when he does this, he's going to do this. And the very next play, Joe picked it off in the end zone, and his teammates went absolutely fucking nuts.
Dude,
and they're both Alabama players, right?
Yeah, yep. Job, I'm not sure. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. I think Mekhi Gardner might be the first cut guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's played out of his mind in so many spots. I would certainly hate to lose him, but save for major injuries or guys being very banged up, the Eagles traditionally, I mean, under Sirianni, haven't carried 7 corners. So, I mean, maybe if they go heavier nickel, that would be a good place to do. Oh, I see Top Shelf comment on that too. It would just be tough for me to kind of think they're keeping him.
Yeah. And it sucks. It's because, you know, what's your guys' thoughts on Justin Evans? This kid he's another one that's kind of outside looking in. He's
getting there for me.
Well,
you could definitely see that he can play. Just not yet with the guys that are in front of him.
There's progression. Yeah. He's getting there. He's 2 years off at least.
Yeah, he's very. I mean,
we put Kayvon Wallace on a milk carton right in our first 2 episodes, and just fucking forgot about that guy. Like somebody put out a bolo for him. And
Jay,
what's that?
The update on the? He just gave us an update on the Phils. 7-2 in the 8th.
Yeah,
Harper triple.
Nice.
I think it's more so for me and Matt Carrington. I don't know are you a Phillies fan too?
I'm a Phillies watcher.
Okay. I will take
I
it.
like the Phillies. I don't dislike the Phillies
Okay.
at all.
Yeah,
I
Silver-
root for them.
Silver
I hope
went
they
deep
win
too, so
every
it's
year.
good.
I was rooting for them last year. Cost me a bundle.
I think everybody was. Everybody hates the Astros.
Yeah, screw the Astros. I think we can all agree on that. But I think looking at safeties and stuff too, like Kayvon Wallace kind of came out of nowhere and raised his game to a level that
Kayvon has been super effective. He's been fantastic.
So is he? Are you going to take an Evans over Kayvon? No. Sidney Brown? No. Reed Blankenship? No. So then it really comes down to Tristan McCollum, who has played almost 70% of the special team snaps, and then you have then you have Evans and Edmonds. So I think it's kind of a tough road for him to make the team. If they keep 5, maybe.
That was actually, boys. That was one of the things I wanted to talk to y'all about. So, watching the game last night, Edmonds was behind on a lot of things. He wasn't exactly tackling. He was going for the strip over the tackle. He seems to be playing a lot of. I mean, I'm just going to call. I'll call it sloppy football. He is not by any stretch of the imagination the fucking guy that I want him to be. If Terrell Edmonds
we thought he was going to be
guy, then you I'm sorry, but you're not going to get anywhere by trying to strip the ball here in Philadelphia. You're going to get fucking booed out of this town. You will get booed out of here. We want you to tackle, and that's what we're fucking worried about. So,
yeah, I mean, if you look at, like we talked about before, his grade, his Pro Football Focus grade, and his career progression, he's been an average safety, and that was part of the reason I thought not only Job would come in and it could even see time at spot up safety in situations, being that outside cover guy, but also before some of these people started to emerge, but also because his grade has been absolutely terrible. I mean, he's just been just okay in the whole situation. When he's thrown at, his accuracy from the opposing quarterback rating is very, very high, way above average, and he's in the lower 50 percentile for overall safeties. Add to that he has partially non-guaranteed contract, and he looks like he would almost rather not be here. I would have no problem cutting Edmonds in favor of a guy like Justin Evans, who looks like he's raw but just has room to grow. I mean,
right, and that's kind of it's my thought process as well. It was I sat there and watched. It was the second defensive drive. I was like, dude, did he seriously just you were more concerned about getting the strip over the tackle?
It was like it was like an Olay tackle. Like, I don't feel like getting hit right now. Yeah,
and it's look, I'm all about you have to earn your money when it comes to the defense. Your money is earned on tackles, forced fumbles, interceptions, and shit like that. I get that. Yeah, I'm not fucking gonna. I'm not gonna make any arguments about that. But when your intentions are intended to, obviously, I don't want to say that his intentions were intended on making money.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. But at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm sorry, but if you make the tackle, I'm going to be more inclined to look at you as opposed to the fucking guy that went in to try and fucking strip the ball, looking for it gave fucking their running back 3.5 more yards of rushing because you chose to try and go in and strip the ball as opposed to making the tackle. And this is shit that we have seen from defensive people for for the extended
Longest
period.
time.
These guys have been doing this forever. They're looking to try and get the statistics to be able to pad the contract as they need to. It pissed me off, especially when I saw it the other night. I was like, I really want to punch this dude in the fucking face. I was like, all you had to do was tackle him. You saved us 2.5 yards, which I believe it actually would have prevented the first down, if I remember correctly, because he was actually going. That's what the running back was going for. So,
I think this is kind of a multifaceted issue, though, Tommy, because you look at it. He was a first-round pick. He's made some money, right? And he doesn't necessarily need to get it, whereas a guy like Justin Evans needs to make the team, hasn't made his money yet, hasn't secured anything yet. And then also you look, maybe, he's been in the league 5 years. Maybe he's kind of half-hearting it in the preseason and maybe taking it for granted being a former high pick. He's used to that kind of overall security. But I think more of like a Richard Sherman said when he goes, I remember trying to cover Devonta Smith, and he made a cut and he went up and I went to cut and I stayed right the hell where I was. And I thought, it's time for me to call it a career. And he's looking around at this safety room and you're seeing these guys ball out and just hammer. And Richard Sherman, an all-time talker, an all-time corner, also in that Seahawks system where I don't know, man. I just think that he's looking around and saying, well, maybe I'm used to not trying as hard, but also the talent around me. I mean, you have Sidney fucking Brown coming out of college as a late draft pick or mid-rounder, and he's hitting everything like a rocket. And you have Justin Evans throwing his everything in the preseason. He is not hungry. He has not shown me hunger. He has not shown me thirst. He does not want to tackle. I mean, it's clear. And if you're going to be a box safety, which is sort of how it was billed, is that he would be able to kind of contribute as that off big linebacker safety, you got to get it together and show some fucking effort. Because if you're not going to, other guys are going to come out after you. Every single year, there's more people coming. And Eagles have to cut at least 17 people that aren't going to make it to the practice squad. And Edmonds has to go out there and show, like, I'm that guy. And if he doesn't, and he does not have that hunger, this is not the city for you. All right. There's one thing is I wouldn't progress myself.
We'll let you know too. And that's the fucking thing about it. Right.
Yeah. And also we'll let you know when you have effort, like Trey Turner. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. We had, so if you were to take the names off the back of jerseys, I would have never been able to tell you that he was a fifth-year starter and a former first-round pick, because he just got outplayed by absolutely everybody. And I was excited about his signing before we got to see Sidney Brown and all these guys. So I was like, all right, at least we'll have a veteran presence in the back end that has been a starter for the last 4 years and has played okay. But at least he knows what he was doing. But this year, I'm like, I don't even want him out there. I'd rather see Justin Evans out there at this point. At least I know he'd be giving it 110% the entire time over top of maybe – somebody who's going for a strip instead of a short tackle and giving up, who knows, another 10, 15 yards after that, if not more.
Yeah, and my Honda looks like shit next to a Maserati. Like, let's just face it.
Yep.
It's an okay car, piece of shit Honda, and then you're next to a Maserati, and, they both get you where you want to go, but one faster, more efficient, leaner, cheaper, wants to be there. That's buy-in is huge. I mean, how often do you see players like Tyrann Mathieu get shipped off for peanuts, and he gets next to an organization that values him or he's passionate about, and all of a sudden you're stuck looking going, why did they give him away for nothing? Like, I think of an Isaiah Simmons who's just been totally disenfranchised by the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm like, why weren't we in on Isaiah Simmons? A conditional 7th, So I think buy-in is huge, and he could be kind of a surprise cut.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he was cut and they kept Justin Evans. I wouldn't be shocked at all or mad about it.
Is there anyone else on defense that you guys are looking at and you're like, damn, like, I hope he makes the team, or like that you think is going to be cut that you hope isn't?
Ajobo as a late round pick. I think they saw enough of him that they really, really like him. They've nothing but raved about on how he's played, and unfortunately he got concussed, and we don't know how long that will take, but I believe if they put him through waivers, he's not going to make it. Somebody will take
No
him.
way.
And you know what I mean? So I think he makes the 53-man, and they put him on IR for maybe the first 6 weeks. You know, he kind of reminds me of there's a guy that I liked watching back when he was drafted. Wasn't always a flashy star, but he played well. As Benny Logan. I think he'd be that type of player where when he's going to play like 25% of the plays, but you're going to hear his name somewhere making a play during that time at some point. So I think they like him. Yeah. And you know, I think he has a chance to be a pretty good defensive tackle, especially with the rotation that he would have with these other guys.
Yeah. I think I would actually have to agree with you. I think Ojomo is kind of the, obviously barring the setback and hopefully this injury isn't an extensive one, but I think he's the guy, right? Like I can't think of anybody else.
So I think that for me, the guy that's really popped, no one's really talked about at all, is Contavious Street. I mean, he is a hyper athletic fringe D tackle, you know, kind of a 4 technique guy. And his athleticism, his quarterback hits, his stats really popped, and his effort popped in the preseason. The other thing is that Street's a vested veteran. Hey, he's a vested veteran, so he is not going to be subject to waivers. And that's actually pretty important as like these roster gymnastics take place, that they can release Street and immediately sign him to the practice squad and keep Ojomo on the active roster instead of putting him on the PUP list and subjecting him to waivers or putting him on any type of reserve. So I think that might be a guy you see cut that they immediately bring back.
Well, I mean, they just did that with their offensive linemen. You know, they just did the same thing a couple of days ago with however the contract or however it's all set up. They cut him, sign him back 2 days later to a 2-year deal. You know,
and
completely agree with your thing on Ojomo as well.
Yeah, to the guy you're talking about, Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
Who's the offensive lineman or tackle? He hasn't allowed a single quarterback hit or rush in 80 snaps. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he's been an absolutely sensational swing tackle. And you pair him up with, Steen, and you have 2 really good centerpieces as backups locked into, 2 to 3 year deals that are very, very cheap and absolutely exceptional. So I really think that Fred, that's a great call out, because I think Johnson's going to be exceptional.
Yeah, I was kind of confused when they cut him at first. I was like, hold on a second. Like, did I read the right name? And then it kind of went out there. I'm like, what is going on? And then I saw he signed a 2-year deal. I was like, all right, I don't know what just happened, but thank you. Because
thank you, Howie Roseman.
I think it was one of those things, almost what they did with Fletch 2 years ago. It's like, hey, we're going to cut you for 4 days, so this expires or whatever. We're going to sign you back. Please don't sign with anybody else. It's like, okay.
Bizarre.
Yeah, so now it made me feel better when I saw that they signed him back. And, to your point, with Ojomo, you're the one who opened my eyes up to him 2 weeks ago, watching him play. And then he got hurt, unfortunately, but he just made plays whenever he was in. He just did his job, did his thing, and he just played very, very well. But they were very high on him and super excited about him coming out of college. Super excited about him, especially for where they got him, 6th round?
Yeah, 6th or 7th. And he's a strength magnet. That guy is just absolutely great. And Benny Logan's a great comp for him because, add 20, 30 pounds onto him. Absolutely sensational. Pocket mover, rotational guy. And a workhorse, and again, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, we're going on a lot of these Southern schools, Southeastern Conference. And there's kind of a theme happening here of camaraderie, teammates, proven strength programs, that are going to come in and really make a difference. And what do you guys think about Morrow? Do you think he makes the team?
I think he does. This dude has been a God freak of nature. He's the one that has seen the most playing time during this preseason. He's the honest to God, and he made it. I mean, that that tackle for loss that he had in the what was it? The first it was the first defensive drive that the Eagles had.
Mhm.
This dude, I mean, he fucking drilled this dude.
Yeah.
Drilled him. And I was like, holy shit. Like, and I was like, okay, maybe this dude's actually legitimate. Like, maybe this wasn't all bullshit. Like, this might have been worth the squeeze. So no, I think Morrow makes this shit no questions asked.
Yeah, they were so high on signing of him when he got cut. Like he got cut, and it was like very next day Eagles signed Mara. It's a 1-year deal or 2-year, whatever it was. And then the chips fell with Cunningham and those guys playing. But I think they feel very comfortable having him in there because he was the lead tackler last year in Chicago.
Yep, he was the leading tackler, and kind of an important note for him, just the same as Street, is that he is a vested veteran, and he doesn't have any guaranteed money left on his deal. He was signed with 0 guarantees. So the Eagles can be very creative if they want. They say, "Hey, we want you. We're going to keep you," very similar to Fletcher Cox, and endure a very limited cap situation with him, very, very limited, and sign him as a vest. Have him. He won't go through waivers at all, so they can release him and then just keep him in the building. And as soon as they clear whoever they want to clear, everyone sets their practice squads, waivers are cleared, then put them on. I mean, they can do a lot of different stuff, especially when you look at a guy like Ojimo, who you're trying to make sure is able to get there, and he's one of your protected 8 to 10 players. I think that's a guy you could see some fluidity with. But ultimately, I think with Dean being unproven and Zach Cunningham being signed, 2 weeks ago, I think you need a 4th linebacker.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think this fucking dude is it.
Yeah. What about Maddox Williams was going to be my other one?
Yeah, I mean Maddox Williams is there, but I think Morrow is. I mean, he didn't have as many tackles, but I think that's because he didn't play as much because they anticipate on using him in the foreseeable future.
I mean, he just sniffed out that draw play last night and just absolutely smacked the guy. And with a form tackle, it wasn't throwing a shoulder in to make a big hit, just wrap, stick, and drive. And it was game over before that thing started.
It's literally what I wrote on in my notes was Morrow sighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put Morrow, throw. Morrow, tackle for loss, 3rd down, aggressive tackle.
Yeah.
My notes were he is nasty, and I hope this fucking dude is here for the foreseeable future because he was huge.
And he's a solid tackler. I mean, he led the Bears in tackles again, a lot of opportunities on that shit team, but he led the Bears in tackles total, and he had a lot for loss, and he was a good, solid player. Fits a need. You just wonder with some of these guys that are, vested veterans, if they're comfortable playing special teams and how much that plays in. Because I thought the Eagles would carry 7 quarterbacks for the first time in 3 years. And then I saw Devin Allen, and Matt and I were like eyeball emojis, and thinking, oh, what the fuck is going on with this guy? He just came out with his hair on fire, after battling a hamstring injury or something. And man, he hurdled the opposition for sure. I mean, he crushed it.
I know what you did. I see what you did there.
Yeah, you fucking nerd.
I'll be here all night.
Like it.
All right, boys. Well, let's get into hit them high and hit them low and see what kind of prop bets we're looking at as we're getting ready to roll into the beginning of the season.
Hit them high, hit them low. It's brought to you by Diet Smoke. Use our promo code scrolling across the bottom here to get, 15% off? Damn, that's a good deal. I might have to sign up for that. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to talk about as far as, betting. We talk about the first week. What I always like to do or touch on first, right? MVP odds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the MVP odds?
Who's
Did
up, who's
they-
down?
The same damn thing. It's just basically a 3-person race between Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. Herbert gained 300 points and Hurts dropped 100. So he just continuously gets neglected, I guess, on that, you know?
The Bills are good. The Bills are about to fucking take a hit. Like these guys are not about to win the division. I don't know how they think that Josh Allen is going to be the guy.
The Bills
They're
are on
digging
verge of
themselves in a big hole.
the Bills are on the verge of imploding themselves with the Stephon Diggs situation of him wanting to be out, of him not wanting to be out, of him getting in Josh Allen's face during the playoffs last year. It just, I know he came out and said that he wants to be here and he wants to do, his thing in Buffalo and everything else, but it's just like at some point enough comes enough because apparently Minnesota said they had enough with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it worked out with both teams. Obviously, they selected Justin Jefferson. Thanks a lot, Jalen Rager. But you know, yeah, it's couldn't.
I mean,
imagine.
I look at Jalen Hurts, and he has improved his quarterback rating from 77 to 87 to I think it's 100 this last year. Nothing but upward momentum, nothing but positive trajectory with turnover ratio, with passing yards, with everything. Then all they did was go out and add a DeAndre Swift and a Zacchaeus as a backup 1B slot, and who had 600 yards, 6-7 touchdowns, something like that with Atlanta. And from that, some hapless quarterback, I forget what his name was, rhymes with Schmariota, I think.
Yeah, right.
And they added weapons. I don't understand why his odds would be low, but again, I'll probably hit on that till I'm red in the face, but I think I crossed that threshold some time ago.
Yeah, it drives me insane because I think if Hurts doesn't miss those 2 games, he probably does win the MVP last year, and I think everybody around the league was kind of on board with that.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of Wentz.
Yeah, and then he absolutely outplays Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and it's not even close. Not even remotely close on how too different that those two guys played. And yeah, he didn't play in the preseason, but the coming out of training camp, he's completed 70% of his passes. He was 150 of 215 for 69.8%. And 18 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. So it's not only taking care of the football, but he has progressed in the last from year to year to year. And it hasn't been a little progression. It's been leaps and bounds. So it's like, well, now what is he going to do with the same guys in the offense with a coordinator who he's comfortable with? And he's already pissed off from losing the Super Bowl anyway. So it's just like, and all he keeps hearing is that he can't do it. He's not as good as everybody thinks he is. It's just the Eagles' offensive line, and Justin Fields is better, and all this other stuff. It's like, obviously, we're watching 2 different NFL seasons because if you think Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, then except for some Magic Beans, I can sell you down here a little bit. You can go and Venmo me.
Yeah,
I've got a great receiver to sell you named Rager, right?
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, the Eagles' odds to win the NFC Championship, they were in preseason, they were as low as 225, and now they're up to 280. So I don't know what's driving that momentum. The Cowboys, after trading for Trey Lance tonight, their odds dropped 250 points. So that's curious.
Actually, Carrington. Corey actually was looking up some of the prop bets as well.
Yes, sir. I got your link actually right here. So the one I was using is Scores and Odds, and that's where they have the tight end prop bet. But I'll send it to you, Corey.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on this? Five touchdowns?
Well, oh my God. I mean,
I'll take that fucking bet all day long.
Yep, scores and odds. And I think part of that is predicated on Dallas Goedert's, from what I was reading, is on his injury history and how he has a tendency to miss, and how the Eagles added more weapons. And so they're saying, I think they're kind of going off the general assumption that with these running backs and them wanting to pass it more adding another slot receiver, Devonta coming into his own even more than last year from all reports. Okay. There's not going to be enough love to be spread around. And I was kind of doing the math on that in my head with 5 touchdowns versus what Hurts did last year. Yeah, okay, but I'm taking a tight end in this offense, especially when they're trying to get the ball out of his hands in an RPO. Yeah. You got to think he's going to be open over the middle constantly, or at worst, single coverage with some hapless free safety, probably some jerk off from Iowa who's just about to get his shit steamrolled.
Yeah, I mean, nobody in the NFL as a tight end has, or I think as a receiver has more yards after catch average than Dallas Goedert does, which is a crazy stat I heard the other day. You know,
I mean, he's top 5 in many metrics, and he's a really hard guy to bet against. I think the biggest one would be health. And if you could kind of shore that up and how much he is so physical and run blocking, it would be something. Also to consider how the Eagles may be up in games. You know, to your point, we were talking about the over-under in the Patriots game. And you made the point time ago, I would not bet against that, which you're in luck because it's plus 50 in the over for that too, right? So that's a better odds than the under that I was talking about. But if we get up in games like you're thinking, and we're playing a really tough schedule, so it's going to be pretty hard, I think, to be steamrolling people, you're going to see him prioritize health over everything. And I think if the preseason has taught us anything, it's that we're going to prioritize player health in injury management. Resting guys, they don't give a shit about awards. You know, Hurts already said he does whatever the coach wants him to do. He'll come in and come out, which, by the way, I heard on the broadcast he was at 10% body fat last year. Yeah. And that's what I'm at, I think. Somewhere around 10. Somewhere around
me too. Now he's 7.
Now he's at 7. And I thought
that's fucking insane.
Yeah, he's almost at my level for body fat, which is amazing if you add a 0 at the end.
He was texting me for tips earlier.
Yeah. I do crunches sometimes.
Yeah.
The only time I sit up is leaning from the back of my couch to the front when I needed my beer to get off the table.
12-ounce curls right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
No luck for me, motherfuckers.
Right. That's where that's mine. I'm in the military and I still do 12-ounce curls, and it's only beer. That's the only fucking.
Yeah, you got to do it. That old aluminum diet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the spread right now for the game for the Eagles at Patriots, right, is 4.5 points right now, and it's been as low.
It's up a point.
Yep.
Because it was 3.5 last week. Okay.
Yeah, so it's up, and I'm telling you, like, now the over-under they have at 45, both over and under at 45.5, and I just cannot see the Eagles after sitting. As much as I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts, I think he's the best quarterback in the conference easily. I would take him over every quarterback in the league easily, sitting still.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I would too. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I don't think that you come out. I think it's arrogant to think that you're going to come out after having almost zero continuity of real game experience to come out and you're going to just, lay 50 points on Bill Belichick. I mean, again, that guy's cheated his way to more Super Bowls than I can remember. And if there's a way to do anything, that cheater's going to do it. And I don't know. To me, he's an amazing defensive coach. He will look for any advantage there is. It's the first game. He has a whole offseason to prepare for it. I would not take the over on that. I would go heavily on the under and, count my hundreds later.
Yeah, I would take that under as well, but I will take the Eagles with even at 4.5. Just Mac Jones and old Zeke Elliott don't scare me. Ramondre Stevenson's a good one, but your best receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster coming out of here, and it's just I will take that 4.5 points all day long.
Yeah, an underrated storyline, by the way, Juju Smith-Schuster, that prick.
Yeah.
Well, the under on the 40
45.5.
Yeah. And then I think this one's pretty clear cut. I don't see that the Eagles lose this first game. So your son can be reassured that the Eagles are going to win that first game of the season. Derek Carrington.
Now, I thank God, because I'll have to tuck him in with that, and otherwise he's going to have nightmares. He only falls asleep to Eagles highlight stories. He's not bored of them or sick of me talking about the Eagles at all.
That's good.
I've been assured by his therapist.
Yeah.
Now, one thing on the NFC Championship odds we were kind of talking about is that there's been 18 seasons in the NFC East without a repeat winner. Now, that doesn't mean that the Eagles – I don't see it. The Eagles – I see the Eagles breaking that trend rather and being the first back-to-back in 18 years. But you're a fool if you don't look at trends and you look at the conference and look at all the different quarterbacks, high-powered offense, great defenses, and go, there's probably something to that. Now, that doesn't mean they can't make the NFC Championship game if they don't win the NFC East, as we know. But 18 years is nothing to turn your nose at. And but also of note, Bengals 14% odds to make it out of the AFC, Chiefs at 12%, and the Cowboys sneaking in at 5% odds, which just dipped to 3.5% odds.
Hey, there it is.
I think the betting sites are really banking on there's something going to be happening with this Trey Lance thing, that he's not in just to sit behind Dak Prescott for 3 years. I can see if the Cowboys, I hate to say it, the Cowboys are going to be a good regular season team. They're the only ones I think that's going to give the Eagles a run for the money within that division. But if they come out and they're looking at 3-3, Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones is going to be looking and probably saying a little controversial things in after game press conferences, off the whim. That's going to really strike a line with a lot of people. And I'm here for it.
Well,
I'm all for it.
I think
I've had enough of our quarterback controversies over the last 3 years.
I am all for a fucking implosion. I love implosions. I love it.
Everyone loves a disaster.
I already had one today. I'm ready for number fucking 2.
Did you ever see the Hindenburg, that fucking blimp, that they had crashed in New Jersey?
Oh,
people are like this. Watching in the picture, there aren't people like, let's go help. In every fucking disaster, you see somebody staring around. We love a good comeback. We love a good implosion. We love fucking disasters. So, but the other thing to keep in mind,
especially if they can be with the Cowboys.
Yes, the NFL Championship game is becoming one of my favorite bets, actually.
Okay.
Because even though there are some odds stacked against it, if you look at it, and then people are going to use this against me later, so good thing that's recorded. But unlike what my bookie says, there is no such thing as a sure thing. You know what I'm saying? And I have 2 wobbly knees to prove it. But looking at the teams that are in front of us, who's the quarterback in the NFC that's even within the same absolute realm as the Eagles?
The NFC is so weak, but I am all for it right now. I don't care. Take full advantage of it.
Yeah, and fuck Derek Carr. Fuck Derek Carr and his average ass, right?
Yeah.
And
but that shows you the level that we're at.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we are in a shit fucking situation when it comes to the NFC.
Which is fine by me. Take full advantage of it.
I'm good with it.
Full advantage of it.
But I mean, honestly, who else do you guys think? I mean, it's Derek Carr and Dak Prescott are your 2 and 3, right?
Kirk Cousins throws.
No, Kirk Cousins is shit. He's
gone.
Shit,
but he puts up yards. But we're at the tier, right? We're at tiered stuff, and you have Justin Jefferson. Darius Slay put him in a fucking phone booth. 2 targets last year with an interception. He put him in a phone booth, last year, right? But if you're looking at prolific quarterbacks that could potentially, catch whatever, I would say, it's just one of those things.
Carrington, I might love your wife.
I accept. Be sure to let them boys know it's lose, not lose. And you'd think they would know if they've had so much fucking practice. Last time they went to a Super Bowl, I was 4 years old or something.
There it is.
Yep.
Get it together, you fucking fan base. I have nothing but respect, but call yourself America's team and you can't even win a game.
Yeah, I can't believe you just said you have nothing but respect. They can blow it out their fucking ass.
I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, from a spectacle, a circus.
Nope.
No, give no respect. You just said you love a disaster.
I love a disaster when it's controlled. Their disaster is just fucking sad. So,
yeah.
No,
I'm with you 100%. I just think that looking at like probably the best or most locked in long term, that it would be the Eagles to make it out of the NFC, because most likely scenario is the Niners and the Cowboys probably playing each other again. Yeah. And the Niners are going to fucking roll them. And I don't care if it's Brock Purdy in a wheelchair, they're going to roll them. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. Their offensive line is breaking down. It's older. Tyron Smith doesn't make it through a season. Zach Martin is disgruntled and has been very beat up. Their center sucks. He's from Wisconsin.
Jason Peters is available. He said he still wants to play.
It's
God,
honestly, I think it's Derek Carr. I don't even think Dak Prescott.
Even with Kirk Cousins, if he doesn't play at 1:00. It's a horrendous game, and I don't know what it is, but on Monday nights, they might as well just roll out. When we play them Thursday night, just start your second string quarterback. Just don't even bother with Kirk Cousins, because it's not going to matter.
He's horrible. He's horrible in the prime time.
But it shows you, because you play better teams during prime time or the game of the weeks, or Sunday night games. You play better teams. He picks apart mediocre teams.
So that kind of brings us to where we were to start the show, which is what's our biggest fear going in, right? I think Jesse asked that. And my biggest fear is and continues to be health. And even though people will use it against us later, this is a very weak quarterback division. It's a very weak quarterback conference. And most of the quarterback talent is over in the AFC, just beating the shit out of each other. Interesting that the Bengals are at 14%. I mean, they've done a lot of nice things too, but I just don't see a way that, barring injury, that the Eagles don't make the Super Bowl again, even though history tells you the odds are like abysmal. Even though history tells you in the last 20 years they're not good, we'll win our fucking conference or our division rather. Everything in my core just says it doesn't make any sense, other than the Eagles are going to absolutely fucking clear. The Cowboys are going to disappoint again. Dak Prescott's not going to get an extension. He's going to get traded out to probably the fucking Raiders, because that just seems like what makes the most sense.
That'd be perfect.
I can't believe you just took that take. Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, no, I was kidding. That's absolutely fucking no.
Yeah, they're screwed. I mean, I just think the Eagles are going to go, and that's probably a goodest point of any. I mean, I
completely agree.
Zero faith in Dak Prescott.
Well, I don't know. It just hurts his confidence. I just feel like he's either going to get us there, or he's going to be carried out on his shield, and we're going to be at his funeral later, because he's going to die trying. So it's just, it was like when they needed a 2-point conversion to tie the game during the Super Bowl. I was like, he's going to sneak it. He's not going to throw it. And everybody ran that way, and he just threw all of his body weight in. Next thing you know, he's crossing the end zone. We got a tie game at 35 at that point. It's like there's no stopping him when
he should have had some. He should have had some Delta gummies and relaxed before he made some of those throws, but he didn't, and that'll teach him.
All right. Yeah. So to kind of give our closing things, who's the guy that you guys expected to make the team, but is not going to?
Deion Kane.
As we get ready to close this shit out.
Deion Kane.
Deion Kane?
Yeah, they went out and gave him a decent amount of money, and even for a low end, whatever, and there was a lot of hype behind him. Nada, very similar. Hype train left the station, and it fucking
Nada. And got them.
And got to get out of here.
Good news is I won't have to learn how it's fucking pronounced, because he's not going to make the team.
No.
Right. I think Ian Book is kind of the shocker for me. I went into the season thinking that that Ian Book was going to be the third string, and Tanner McKee fucking took my shit and fucking blew that fucker up 10. So
That should be mine, Tommy. I was hard on that tall white kid. I was really hard on that kid, and he a little bit. Tanner McKee had shit stats. He had a shit line at Stanford, but he was projected once upon a time to be a second to fourth round pick, and kind of fell down the thing. And I just thought, system wise, there's no fucking way. Like, they just got a tall guy they could absolutely pile on in camp practice, and wasted a draft pick. And I've never been happier to be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. All right, boys. Well, I think this is going to wrap up our last postseason coverage for the Philadelphia Eagles. We are going to be on Fridays going forward. The intent is to actually be shifting this to a pregame, where we're going to discuss some of the matchups that we got coming up, and some of the things that we're going to end up seeing, and some of the things that we're hopeful for. And then starting on Mondays, we will be doing post-game coverage, obviously depending on the schedule. If we are looking at Monday night games and things like that, and if we have Thursday night games, we're going to shift the schedule as we need to. But
I think
going forward, our schedule is going to be a pregame and a postgame kind of coverage, discuss what the things that we are seeing with the team. The team, as you see it right now, is me, Carrington, and Matt. We aren't going anywhere. We're going to be here. We're looking forward to having some special guests pop in and out throughout the season, and should be a good year. Is there any other things that you guys have anything to add on as regards to comings and goings? Because obviously we're getting ready to roll from a 90 player team to a 53 player team here in the next 2 or 3 days. We got cuts coming out the ass. So is there anything else you guys have to add?
Yeah, first thing is go to Old City Sports, on our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. There's a lot of great shows that we have. I mean, Delco Dive, absolutely fantastic. Flyers Alley, fantastic show. And I learned more about hockey in one sitting than I had in a few years, seriously. I mean, it's just very informative stuff, but also entertaining. So go to our channel, hit the notification, hit the subscribe, the like, all the shit that I'm supposed to say. And follow our networks. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that's just not even hasn't even been revealed yet. That'll just absolutely be fantastic.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff happening. And as far as the Eagles go, I think that you're going to see some guys get dropped like Morrow and people that have some ability to just be sat for a while and not go through waivers. I think that's the net is don't freak out. Trust Howie Roseman. Don't be like me when I saw McKee drafted and freak the fuck out, right? Don't be like me when I saw Clayton Thorson drafted and freak the fuck out. Trust Howie Roseman. He got us to a Super Bowl. I'd love to see another GM that could restart with a quarterback, restart with another coach, and within about a 5-year period be in two Super Bowls. I mean, trust the guy. I'm not going to say process because I've heard that's a sensitive topic. So I'm going to say trust.
That shit. Shut up. Don't even
move on.
Punch you in the throat.
I only let my wife do that, so you guys can't. No, I agree with what Carrington said. Just trust everything that's going on. Trust Jalen Hurts and being able to lead this team and what's going on. These guys are so synced up, and we haven't seen them in preseason. But the reps that they get, even though it's these practices, it's first-team guys going against first-team guys, full board. The only thing that's not happening is quarterbacks getting fully hit. But other than that, he's making the throws. He's making these tight window throws. and where he may have ran last year, and he definitely would have ran the year before. Now he's kind of sitting back a little more. So I think he is trying to keep his body in a better shape to keep moving forward. Because I think when he got hurt last year, like Harrington said, he thought his season was over. He thought he broke his collarbone because he broke it at Alabama, and he thought, well, here's my season done. We're not, we're going to end up losing in the playoffs, and it's nothing to Gardner Minshew, but it's not even close to the quarterback and the play style that they have. So keep
Yeah,
excited to watch. I can't wait for it to start.
And shout out to my wife who actually hand painted this for me on my wall.
It's awesome.
There
Looks
it is.
good.
Got to get the plug in.
Yeah,
Looks good.
There you go. You can come to my house and paint that shit on my wall anytime. Right. Just tell my wife that I'm letting you do it.
That's
and perfect. I just want to say to any wrestling fans out there, we just lost a big wrestler in Bray Wyatt. One of my favorite new school wrestlers. I was big into it during the Attitude Era, fell out, and then got back into it again. And Bray Wyatt was one of my favorite guys to watch going in. And I believe he had a heart attack yesterday. He's only 36, so I know he just had a young daughter. So shame that she got to grow up without him. So keep him in mind and the family.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there, dude. That was definitely a tough one to hear. Next week we're going to be on a little bit of a break, but if any special Eagles news pops up over the course of the next couple of days, obviously we have heard whisperings in the wind of a potential trade with the Indianapolis Colts for a running back. Some of us feel one way, and others of us have felt another way. So we'll see what happens with this, and we'll play this by ear. But we're looking forward to the upcoming season. Be sure to check us out on the 8th of September. That is going to be the official opening show for the upcoming 2023-2024 season. And we're looking forward to talking with all of y'all. Be sure to check us out. And like I said, if you are not already following us, be sure to check us out at Birds the Word on Facebook, and also check out Old City Sports, and also check us out on Twitter at all of our names here below our little pictures here down in the it's in our lower left, and yeah, there you go, Matt. You got it.
Got it.
And
mirrored image.
Yeah.
Thinking the process of 35 years.
Also, be sure to check out all the other great shows that we have going on Old City Sports. Fan Lot Phillies they're covering the Phillies as we're getting ready to roll into Red October. Phillies are flying hot. Corey Wilk going to be doing a Belly Buster show, and then Flyers Alley and Night in the Alley is getting ready to kick off as the Flyers get ready to roll into their season as well. So be sure to check us out. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and close it out. All right, boys.
All right.
Go Birds.
See y'all.
Go Birds.
See y'all in a couple weeks. Go Birds.